Mike, so if
Great.
you want to let your folks know that we're live and we can go so people can see us now. But when Jimmy and Nick, I can't remember, we had Chewy on too. But Jimmy was really, yeah, Nick wasn't bad. Jimmy was a great guest. I mean, it was incredible.
Nick wasn't back. Lavery.
No,
No.
Nick's like
You didn't need a Massachusetts translator or anything like
yeah,
that?
park the car. We got to, it was
I think
far
he's
from
done
here.
so many of those things
Yeah,
that he's
he's
kind of
good.
got it down.
He's a pro now, man.
He worked for me in Lebanon. That guy is phenomenal.
Oh my
He's
God,
something,
he's a
man.
beast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he is.
I always mess with him that he's, he looks like he's doing too much cardio. He needs to get back.
Yeah,
in the gym.
right. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's a meathead for sure. So, but yeah, Jimmy, we went to break, and Jimmy had dropped one during the live segment, and I was like, "Hey, Jim, man, when we're live, man, FCC's listening, right?" And Jimmy was like, "Oh shit!" Right? It's great.
There's 7 words you're not supposed to say on the radio.
There's way more than that.
Yeah, but well, that's according to George Carlton.
George Carlin.
I
Not George Carlton.
I say George Carlton every time, and he corrects me every time. It's the same thing.
It's just it's unnerving. It's infuriating when you say George Carlton.
Brad's kind of like my wife. I know that I'm saying the word wrong, and I say it wrong anyways, just to see if he's going to correct me again. Or my hopes is I can break his spirit.
No
and he'll just
breaking me.
give up on
It's not possible.
Not possible. Not possible.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So normally, like John Gallina, our executive director, he's usually on the show with us, but he's previously detained on a secret mission in Charlotte, so he won't be here today. So, are you sharing that to Facebook? You're always playing with your phone.
Well, that is what I am making sure.
Are you playing
that
games?
I'm not playing games. I'm making sure that our stuff gets up and properly posted and all that good stuff. Although today Durant's doing that.
Okay.
I'm just waiting to make sure we get clicked in.
So, Mike, also Tammy is always on the show with us. You can't see her right now, but
3 minutes.
Tammy is she's known as Mrs. Giggles, and she just laughs at us and provides comic relief.
Yeah,
that's what she does.
That's it.
She just laughs.
We can't afford a laugh track, so
No, I supply the laugh.
yeah, that's it.
By the way, these shirts are legit, man. They're very comfy.
Oh yeah, that's actually
Yeah,
nice
it's not,
material.
yeah, they're
What is
pretty
that?
good quality.
$5 if you
Shoot for
sign
good
up.
quality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
$5
yeah.
if you sign up?
$5 if you sign up. Devin, you are a veteran. But, hey, Mike.
Yeah, it pays for the shipping. So I mean,
we
we're
gotta-
working towards getting tours. It just being free once you've signed up and do
wow.
like your first event.
We
Your
got to
shirt will-
recruit Devin to become one of the Eagles today.
It's too easy.
An eagle?
Yeah.
Yeah,
See, it's an eagle.
Oh yeah.
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 I'm
And then you
I'm
get
just glad that it's
spread
not a
some
blue
eagle
falcon.
fire.
Spread the eagle fire.
2
I love it.
minutes.
Yeah.
That's
2 minutes.
Mike's call sign on social media.
What's that? Eagle.
Spread the eagle fire.
Spread the
Yeah.
eagle fire.
Yeah.
It's a long call sign.
It's like. Should we do boot camp stories today?
Well, yeah, we could do
We
boot
could get
camp
Paul
stories.
to call in with the fresh air recruit story. That would be
Oh,
awesome.
there we are. There
we're
it is.
live.
We are live.
Okay.
We've been live for
Oh, we've been
There
live.
we go. There we go.
like 3
Yeah,
minutes.
we've been live.
We just
yeah.
kept going, didn't we?
You
Oh,
didn't-
yeah.
You don't pay attention.
Yeah, we're going to take
I knew we were live. I'm
some
just
clips
kidding.
out there.
I knew we were live.
Oh, great.
Feeling-
How are we feeling?
Devin-
you can hear the voice.
You can hear me now. How are you feeling?
Devin had a couple of edibles on his way over here,
Oh,
so he's good to
okay.
go.
Oh man,
He's
I'm gonna
good
have
to
my
go.
finger on the mute button
Yeah.
just in
He
case.
is good to go. He's in a different
Yes.
world
We
today.
we know that the mute button doesn't work with me.
That's true.
You
We
can
got
hear me
1
in
minute.
Brad's.
1 minute till we're live.
Hey, can you give me that
Shine that light on his head.
special number again? The direct line.
Oh,
I have forgotten where I put
704.
it.
The special number. Is this not? when that's. You'll know when that's
I'll know because it'll be on a very specific line here.
secret.
Secret.
The bat phone.
It's
The bat phone. The bat.
Only
Alright.
Joe knows.
Only Joe knows.
Muting the mics in 10 seconds.
All right, here we go.
Oh,
We're getting ready
no.
to go, Sully. Let's do this thing.
Here it comes.
All right.
It's just a conversation.
Yep, we're just having fun. Is all we're doing.
All right, guys, mics are getting muted.
Get inspired and become a part of their ever-growing family. Located in Richard's Coffee Shop, 165 North Main Street, Mooresville.
Purple Heart Homes presents Putting the Pieces Back Together, a forum for veterans and the community to connect. Here are your hosts, veterans John Gallina and Brad Borders.
Well, hello.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome.
I didn't know who was gonna bring us in.
Well, you were too busy playing with your phone as usual.
Again.
You got a new phone. We've got to announce to the whole world that
yes.
Devin has a new phone.
It's much like my
You
old
playing
phone
Toon Blast on your new phone
with less cracks in it. It's
less cracks.
Brad just said that he doesn't ever know what I'm doing, and the truth
Never.
is I don't either. So, hey, you're listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, brought to you by Purple Heart Homes. We are a 501c3 dedicated to improving veterans' lives through improving their home. And if you want to know more about Purple Heart Homes, go to phhusa.org. If you hear me kind of like hesitant in my voice, the engineers
It's crawling through the studio.
We are not used to the
no
engineer
idea
crawling.
what had happened right there. That was amazing.
The light
Completely
wasn't
threw
on.
me off my game.
Yeah, it did. I saw your eyes averted, and it was like there was an attack coming.
I hope I said the right things.
I think you did.
Good.
Tammy, what's the website people can find out more about Purple Heart Homes? Then she just panicked and froze.
I panicked. Don't. phhusa.org.
Look at you,
Oh,
girl.
yeah. All
That's
right.
phhusa.org. You can find out more about what we do right there.
Is Devin? Is your headset comfortable? Because it looks like it's up here in his eye.
So I always put it just slightly
Okay.
off.
Well, I usually don't sit here, so
Okay.
The sound of my own voice hurts my ears, so I can't put it
Okay.
on both
incredible.
ears.
I got it.
That's
I got
incredible.
it.
So we're missing a member of our team today. John Gallina is on a super secret mission again this week somewhere.
He's got a lot of those, doesn't
He
he?
does have a lot of
that's,
super secret missions. That's TSSCI clearance for those of you that know. So, but we are really excited. I'm
Lucky me.
just fired up about this show, and we've got a great friend of mine, old friend of mine. We're not old yet, but we've known each other a minute or two. Colonel retired, not quite retired. Mike Sullivan is joining us via the internet, and really happy to have you here, brother. And everybody calls him Sully, and so welcome to the show, brother.
It's great to see you, Brad, and I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, we are excited to have you here as well, my friend. Typically what we do with our guests on Putting the Pieces Back Together, we kind of go through a little bio. So if you would, tell our listeners a little bit about you, where you're from, and maybe some family background, and then what in the world made you want to join the Army?
Yeah, sure thing. So, you nailed it. I'm coming up on almost 30 years in the U.S. Army, so it seems like that's a long time, but it went by really quick for me. But it all started back. I was born in Yakima, Washington, so Eastern Washington State.
Yeah.
I'm the fourth and the youngest in my family. I got an older brother and two sisters, and my mom and dad are they're still with us, and they've been just great representatives of what it meant to be like members of their community and serving. So I grew up in a household where my dad was the prosecuting attorney, but he was also a Vietnam veteran.
Oh, wow.
So there was, memorabilia around the house, and then you dig a little deeper, and you start to find out as you get older, he was actually the sole surviving son of a World War II B-24 pilot.
Oh, wow.
And then,
Wow.
so when he was 1 year old, though, just before, he never met his father. His father died in the Indo-PACOM theater.
Wow.
Actually, then in French Indochina, now Vietnam. He was shot down. So my grandmother remarried, and my dad was adopted by Joe Sullivan, who was also an Army vet in World War II. My mom's dad, he was a Navy World War II vet, and then his father was a World War I veteran. He was he's famous for being one of the youngest guys in Montana ever go to medical school. He joined the Army thinking he was going to be a doctor. Because of an injury he had, they made him a medical corpsman. So he was serving as an enlisted man until he ran into one of his instructors overseas during the war, and he got a battlefield commission to officer. So
Wow. No kidding.
Bit of a family business when it comes to just it being around my life growing up. But started out, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, your kids have taken on the family business.
Yeah, they carried on today. So we have twins, Jackson and Samantha. They're both 2020 grads from the U.S. Military Academy, West Point. Jackson's an infantry officer. Samantha's an engineer officer. Jackson's testing cold weather equipment in the high north in Alaska right now. He sent us a picture where he's going to be living in a tent at negative 50 degrees tonight. Yeah, his mom's a little nervous about it. He's all excited about it, sending us pictures of his whole face being, just covered in snow and frost. And then Samantha, actually, she did her time, her platoon leader time and stuff in Colorado as an engineer. But she is quite the rugby player. So she's in what the Army has calls the world-class athletic program for their Olympian athletes. And she plays rugby now full time as an Army officer for USA Rugby.
The Army has a rugby team? Are we?
Not the Army.
Yeah,
the national team.
The national
US
team. Oh, so
yeah. So she's qualified, and the team's qualified to go to the Olympics this summer in Paris. So
that's really cool.
Exciting.
Yeah. So if she stays healthy, that's where we'll be this summer, watching her play.
And I've watched. Sully puts up clips of Sammy playing rugby, and I'll tell you. She's very intense when she's on the field. I mean, she's coming.
She gets that from her mom.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. I know you're super proud of those kids, and I met Sully's kids when they were still in high school. Kids. They're 14, 15 years old, and
did you gas them too?
No, I did not gas them. That's another story.
Brad gassed his own kids. I'm just checking to make sure he didn't gas your kids. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a long-held story around our household. About. Do you remember the time Dad got us tear gassed at Fort Jackson? So no, I did not gas.
And Sully, just to check, do good parents gas their children? I'm just wondering.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you build resilience.
Yeah. There's too many tangents we could go off on
Not
that
parents,
one, right?
Dads.
Yeah.
Just dads.
Just
gas their
dads.
children.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Tammy.
And they don't tell their mothers.
I would, in all fairness, I probably would have did it if I had the opportunity.
Yeah, and my kids we never told Mom until about 5 or 6 years later, I think, was when it came up at a family dinner or something. Mm-hmm. Oh, you remember that time? She's like, what did you do? So anyhow, man, thanks, Mike, and man, we appreciate that story about your family and really grateful. So obviously we're coming up on a break in just over a minute. But when we come back, I'd love for you to speak to your journey into the military and, being a Green Beret and what it takes to get all there. And maybe we'll talk about some of the folks that you served with that meant a lot to you. And I know you're still friends with a lot of them. And so we're really, really glad you're here. I want everybody to know that we'll get into this in more in depth later in the show, but Mike currently serves as Chief of Staff for Team Red, White, and Blue, which is a nonprofit health and wellness nonprofit for veterans. And you can find out more about them if you just kind of Google Team Red, White, and Blue or Team RWB. You'll be able to find out more about. And there's a big event going on this month that Team RWB is involved with. We'll talk more about that as well. And so that's really cool. And so, Mike, thanks for being here, brother. It's awesome to have you.
You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together.
Yeah, you kind of jumped in that a little bit early.
I jumped in right over our guest.
We're not quite there.
We're
the
not
break.
there.
The music was just kind of coming up, and here we are. We're coming there.
Still
and now you can say it. 10 seconds.
You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together. We'll be right back.
More Putting the Pieces Back Together with John Gallina and Brad Borders coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Mics are back live.
So I will tell you this, Devin. When Joe says 30 seconds, he means 30 seconds. Not now.
I can't count. Brad, how does it feel for you to have to be the straight man
now
on the show?
you know.
Like it used to be.
What?
Yeah, John used to have to be the straight man on the show, and now Brad has to do. He's like, gosh, I gotta keep this guy in line.
Oh, that's too funny.
Just keep him corralled, man. Just keep him corralled.
So I thought we were going to hear a pause there at some point.
Yeah, a dramatic pause. You know, the crucial rule of broadcasting is when you mess up, just call attention to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just act like
It's
that
called
was
having
part,
fun.
That's right. Just act like it was part of the show. And
That's
it
what
was.
I feel like we should. Yeah, yeah. That's what I do in my life all the time, and it
Always
works out
call
for me.
yourself out first.
That's
Absolutely.
exactly right. Always, but always be self-deprecating. It's okay.
It has never failed to serve me well.
That's true. It's true. We did one show, an entire show on the Whoopee, and then we had like this poll that we did on, is it a Whoopee or is it a poncho liner, right? And there was like arguments with between people, and the general consensus was everyone in the Army said it was a Whoopee, and all of the Marines said it was a poncho liner.
Well, that's because it's a poncho line. And, my mother got me a poncho liner for Christmas. I should wear that in here one day. It's like
that would be
a
great.
cape.
It would be like a cape.
Superhero cape.
It's like I'll be a matador for guys in the military.
Camo matador. They make all kinds of Whoopee jackets and
I see that.
They even make a Whoopee like house coat that's got a belt.
A Whoopee house coat.
Like something
Like a robe.
like a robe like Hugh Hefner would wear.
I saw that
Tammy's just shaking her head.
That's a no.
No, that's a no.
Team Red, White, and Blue has silkies, don't they?
We might have some in our store. I don't think so.
You should get.
We should.
You should get Whoopee pants or silkies for people to work out
Whoopee
in.
silkies?
Yeah.
Have you seen the hoodie? They make those hoodies. Those are awesome.
Oh,
30 seconds.
Yeah, the Whoopee hoodie is fantastic.
That would be absolutely
I
wonderful.
see. Hey, you gonna bring us back in?
I guess so.
Okay. Well, at least we talked about it.
Well, okay. Well, usually, like when John's here, he directs traffic. So for a little insider, John points at us to let us know who's going in
10
or
seconds.
out. But he's not here.
That's right.
All right, mic's off. Here we go, guys.
A proud sponsor of Putting the Pieces Back Together.
Now, more Putting the Pieces Back Together with John Gallina and Brad Borders on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
We're back. You're listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, and we have a great guest today, Mike Sullivan from Team Red, White, and Blue. And we were just getting ready to have a conversation about what his military career was like and all them special forces trainings and stuff, and how you get that
Special
cool
forces trainings.
Yeah, you get that cool patch.
Yeah,
It's a
it is
technical
cool-
term.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a technical term.
I-
That's the
I wanna-
TRADOC term.
That's right.
So,
That's,
yeah, Mike, what in the world? How do you go from being in Yakima to becoming a Green Beret? What does that path look like?
Well, it was a little bit, as a Green Beret, it was unconventional.
There you go.
Yeah, so I went to college in Southern California, a small school called Claremont. Was not in ROTC at first. Went down there because as I mentioned earlier, the youngest of four, so I was the last of the four children to go there. Small school, I was playing Division III football, and I got a letter in the mail my sophomore year before the summer saying they have a 2-year scholarship, the ROTC department, for anybody that wants to go to Fort Knox, Kentucky, do basic training, and then join the ROTC department for your last 2 years of college, and then you'll commission as an officer. So I figured there'd be a lot of competition. I was the only person to sign up, and they said as long as I made it through basic training, I had a 2-year scholarship.
That's right.
Which I was all about. 'Cause
You were like, you called back home, you're like, Mom, Dad, I won.
I made it.
I made it. I did it. I'm number one.
exactly.
that's great.
Top block.
So went off to Fort Knox, made it through there, graduated, became a field artillery officer. First duty station, I thought I'd travel the world. I was right back at Fort Lewis, Washington.
Right.
And then, we would go to Yakima where I was born and raised, to the training center there to fire our huge cannons. But it was a great experience. I actually then, fast forward, go to my captain's career course. I decided to go to the armor career course to do something different than the field artillery one. I get orders to Germany and get stuck on the staff in the U.S. Army Europe headquarters doing exercises and things as a young captain, not a battery commander and doing the things I thought I'd do. Sat next to a 10th group senior captain, junior major. He got promoted while we were in that job. And he's like, hey, man, like, you would be a perfect SF officer. At that time, I wasn't sure I wanted to stay in the Army. I knew I didn't want to continue on as a field artillery officer, so I decided to put my packet in. It was rejected because they said they couldn't get me out of Europe based on my commitment there. They expect you to stay there in Europe, as the Army pays a lot of money to move you there. But fortunately, I was doing a project for the U.S. Army Europe commanding general, and I did so well. He's like, hey, Mike, what do you want to do next? And I said, I want to go to selection, but they won't let me go because I can't get out of my commitment to my time in Europe. He goes, well, I'm pretty sure I can sign that waiver.
Yeah.
So he signed the waiver, and they sent me off to, I told me, okay, you're going to get one shot at this because you're so senior in your year group at this point, to get through selection and then the Q course. So I was fortunate enough to go to the Special Forces Assessment and Selection right here in Central North Carolina. It was an experimental one, so they had added like an extra 5 days.
Oh, thank you.
Which was, it was great.
That's what you want right there, an extra 5 days of training.
And which meant they also were doing it off cycle, so it was in June. So it was a little warm and humid.
It is a little sticky.
So yeah, it's a tough course, and you can Google about it. A lot of long movements with weight on your back.
Extra weight too. Yeah, an extra weight you get to carry, and team week is also pretty awesome too. So
team week, they decided, because it was experimental, we were going to do it tactical. So they gave us fake guns, and we had to pretend like we were moving heavy things, apparatus that we had to make up as we went through the woods. But we had to say tactical while we did it. So you had to clear danger areas and do all this stuff that you normally didn't have to do. So it made it that much more fun with patrol-based activities at night.
Awesome.
But I made it through. It's a pretty grueling process. There was there's about 300 of us, I think, that started that class. And, you had less than 100 make it, like 70 something selected.
Yeah, it was that officers and NCOs.
Officers and NCOs. Yeah. Yep. But you're just a number.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of figures out who's who, but you truly, even though it's an individual thing, you find out real quick. You need to find the people that you think are going to get through that and can help you get through it, and then mutually support each other throughout the whole process.
That's awesome.
Then,
it was
an incredible thing. When I got back to Germany, my wife was like, what happened to you? Because I had dropped like 15 pounds, and I didn't fit in my clothes, and so
You're all
but
skinny.
it was so from there, was selected, good to go. This is like 2000. I come back for the qualification course as a captain and make it through that, and then because we deployed to different parts of the world, I was learning French because I was a third group guy, because I was supposed to do a whole bunch of stuff in Africa.
Yep.
And the day I was picking up my books for language school was 9/11.
Oh my goodness.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So they didn't accelerate us or anything like that. I finished the language school. I went to SEER school, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape.
Yeah.
That's where you get to learn to survive in the woods and then get to survive in a prisoner of war camp. That's a fun event.
Captain Chaos comes to visit.
Yeah. And then got to third group, and it was about a month later I deployed for my first trip to Afghanistan to stand up the Afghan National Army. That was our first mission I did. So I joke that people could blame me for the success of the Afghan National Army long term. But that was my first trip of 6 to Afghanistan. I spent most of my time in 3rd Special Forces Group, from a Special Forces team leader all the way up to when we met Brad, when I was the 3rd Battalion commander.
When did you take command of 3rd Battalion? Was that 14,
Shoot.
13?
It was 15, 16.
15, 16. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are some interesting days, I'll say.
Yeah, it was some challenging times.
Yeah.
At that point, even though it went another 4 years, we were downsized to one. We went from 5 battalions of special forces teams in Afghanistan to when I took over, there was 1, and I was it. And they were expecting us to do the same amount of work. So it got dicey at times. Few injured. We lost 2 guys that rotation. Thankfully, we had you at home, kind of keeping things going well for us back on the home side of things. But all in all, we felt like it was a good rotation despite those 2 losses. Accomplished a lot, we thought, at that time. And then actually when I got back the next year, 3rd group decided, the powers that be decided we would go back to Africa in terms of our mission set, in terms of training foreign armies across the continent. So I was the 1st battalion commander after 10 years of being away, to put teams back onto the continent. So that was an excellent experience as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you did a great job, man. Look back over, just folks I know, and when people talk about Sully, talk about as a leader, everybody, you get A+, man. So yeah, from guys that count, right? The guys that count are the dudes with the stripes on their sleeves, that not only got the NCO stripes, but the combat stripes to prove it. And when those guys are like, yeah, that guy took care of people, that's high praise, man. It's one thing to get it from in the form of an award or some general saying you did a good job, but when the dudes that served under you are proud to have served under you, that's all the praise in the world anybody ever needs, and you got that. And so I don't want to fluff it up too much, but a lot of people love you and a lot of people respect you, man. And so we're really grateful for you, and you led well, and I watched it happen, and so I know firsthand. So we're grateful for you. So you transitioned out of you went out of the operational world in SF, and then they put you at a desk, didn't they? Kind of do to you.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I immediately went to the War College, and then as a colonel, I got to command again, but this time it was just for a year in Lebanon, and I was in charge of all the joint so I had Marine special operations teams, Air Force, a bunch of Green Berets, and we were working with multiple different units in Lebanon. Primarily at that point, we were helping them kick ISIS back out of their country, so that was an awesome time to be there.
Wow.
But that's an interesting place to be. It was a great year working out of the embassy. It's a unique place on this planet, and I was very fortunate to have that command. Came back, they did put me behind a desk, but then I got another opportunity to command with a conventional unit that's much similar kind of mission to go train foreign armies, called the Army's Security Force Assistance Brigade. So I got command of 2nd SFAB, which had Africa as their area of responsibility, and that was an awesome experience as well. We had teams in like 9 different countries deployed for 6 months at a time by the time I left. So they were doing amazing work training foreign armies, so our army wouldn't have to deploy to help them out.
So, quite a career, man. Quite a career. Yeah, and here we are, right? We got just under a minute before we go to our second break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about transition.
Sure.
And I definitely want to talk about Team Red, White, and Blue. That's having an impact on so many people's lives, veterans' lives, and their families all across the country. And so, super grateful. And we'll talk maybe a little bit about. Maybe I'll ask you about a leader that you looked up to, and maybe we'll get a funny story in, and maybe we'll let Devin say something at some point.
I'm
Speaking
good.
of funny stories.
Funny stories.
Yeah.
We had the here's Devin. Yeah.
There's Devin.
You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together. We'll be right back.
That was very professional.
We'll be back with more of Putting the Pieces Back Together with your hosts, John Gallina and Brad Borders, after this short break on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Oh, and we're back.
We are back.
Yeah, sometimes I don't say a lot during the interviews if I know that you know the guy and like it seems more like a natural conversation going on.
Just conversation
Just
between.
conversation
All right, so we
between
got
you
5
and old
minutes.
friends.
But Sully, I'm going to be in your neck of the woods in March.
Oh, really?
I'm coming down for the Go Ruck event that they're having at the SFA, and I'm going to come.
Nice.
We're going to come down and see Chewy and Michelle and the kids, and then I think it's March 15th, but I'm going to get up early with Chewy and head out to their AO where they're going to punish those folks. I'm not doing that event. I've done a couple of those, and I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Right?
That's in March in Raleigh area? Or,
it's in Fayetteville.
Fayetteville.
Yeah,
Fayetteville.
yeah. It's going to be down at what's the SFA down by the airport, right off of 95. Man, I can't remember. 115, 116.
No, I think that's 10, right?
Oh, is it 10? Yeah, 10.
Yeah.
Okay, gosh,
And
I
that's
was
the
way off.
national headquarters is there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So they'll be down there doing that. So Dan Plants is
Cadre
Dan's coming back
Yeah.
into town, and they got
People
a
spending all kinds of money to embrace the suck.
They
embrace the suck.
they
I
are
mean, that's a
gonna do it.
term that I love that you don't hear that out in the civilian world. Embrace the suck.
And you know, I got connected in with a dude named Joe Baker, right? And so,
Oh yeah, Joe's a great guy.
Joe's not a veteran, but was at a really bad place in his life and went and did a Go Ruck event, and it changed him, right? It made him, it helped, and he got connected in with Chewy and Dan and all these guys, and so Joe's done over 100 Go Ruck events.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, and so now he trains people to do Go Ruck events. And so he's got this, like, about 100 people on this Marco Polo channel where they send videos back and forth to each other, and they talk about their training and everything. And he's got this store that you can buy, and the name of his company is called, because his name's Joe Baker, it's called The Bakery.
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty awesome. And
In fact, I got his hat on, I think. Do I have the bakery hat on?
nothing that says Purple Heart Homes on that.
Right, I'm advertising for the bakery and Team Red, White, and Blue.
Team Red, White, and Blue.
Here, there's yours.
But yeah, we're gonna work on that, Brad.
Yeah,
We're gonna
really?
swag you up.
Thanks, man.
I'm just gonna walk in
not
here.
without swag.
I'm gonna walk in here every day
I've got
with like
swag.
a T-shirt and a hat. And be like, oh hey, by the way, here you go.
So anyhow, that's gonna be fun, and we were debating whether we would go down at the beginning of that event or go down at the end, and I think we're thinking about the beginning because I want to be around where everybody's smiling.
Well played.
No one
Yeah.
wants to speak to you at the end.
No, they'll be too tired. They're going to do that. That's going to be 48 hours, right? And so, and to have Dan Plants pacing back and forth in front of your formation,
Yeah.
you know, telling
He
stories.
lives for that.
He does. He does. He absolutely lives for that.
Pacing back and forth in
So
front of your
Dan,
formation.
so there's a
Look at
little.
this.
So they're in the Greek society. Like, so I'm getting ready to educate you.
Oh, okay.
Right,
Yeah.
Greek society. Some of the philosophers who taught and the educators were known as the peripatetic teachers. Right.
Peripatetic.
Yeah, and so what that meant was they would walk while they taught, and Dan Plants is the walk while he talks guy.
Ah.
He just marches back and forth when he's communicating and dropping truth bombs on all of the Go Ruck participants, and the majority of them have never been in the military.
Yeah.
The majority of them are just like folks that want to just challenge themselves.
That's awesome, though. I mean, you don't have to have been in the military to.
You know, the hardest part, Devin, is signing up.
You know, that was a clear
That is
hint at
untrue.
something.
That is
I'm not sure
untrue.
what he was.
It's not the hardest part.
1 minute. 1 minute.
So just so you know, for all of our listeners out there, and for Mike here, the last time Brad here got me to go do a fitness thing, he's like, "Man, it's great. I do this all the time." He introduces me to a couple guys, like, "Oh yeah, they're gonna meet out there 4:30 in the morning." Like 4:30 in the morning. It's like, yeah, it's not that early. It's like, all right. I get out there, and I'm like, I'm feeling it. I don't get up at 4:30 in the morning. You got to get up at 4 to get up at 4:30. I get there at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm looking around. I'm like, "Where's Brad?" And they're like, "Oh, Brad doesn't come to this.
I know, show.
He hasn't been here in months."
Well played.
Mike's off in 10. Mike's off in 10.
Yeah. So that's my experience with Brad and fitness events.
It's not your last one, though. It's coming.
Mike's off. We're coming back from break.
I'm Dan Schwartzman, Bloomberg Radio.
Now, more Putting the Pieces Back Together with John Gallina and Brad Borders on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
You are back. That's where you are. You're back on Putting the Pieces Back Together with all of us here in the studio.
That's right.
And my friend Devil Dog Devin and my wife Tammy, Mrs. Giggles. And our guest, Mike Sullivan, Sully Sullivan.
Did you forget that you were bringing us back?
I did.
Just so for if y'all were listening or watching on Facebook, Brad announced it very loudly.
I'm bringing us back in. I was like, I took command, and then I just crumbled. I just crumbled in the midst of it. Hey, this show's presented by Purple Heart Homes. You can find out more about us at phhusa.org. Find out what we do for veterans each and every day, solving housing problems for them, safety and accessibility renovations. And I just before we get back in with Mike, I just got a message from another veteran who owns a building company, and a veteran in Winston-Salem had a retaining wall collapse right behind his house, and tons of mud went into his home. And they're over there fixing that this week. Reached out to me, and so I've got to email into our team to see if maybe we can provide some assistance on that. But
in Winston-Salem,
stuff happens all the time, and I talk about we're in the process of working with Love United Iredale through the United Way and through their grant program. And I talk about barriers. There's all kinds of barriers in life. There's economic barriers. There's social barriers. There's growth barriers, but then there's physical barriers. And a lot of the veterans that we work with have barriers to their home. They either can't get in, can't get out, and it's safety. It could be life-threatening if they can't get out of their homes or they can't move around. And so we try to go in and solve those problems. And I think we do a pretty good job of it.
We do an amazing job of it. Our project managers are
crushing it.
Yeah, they really are
crushing it every single day.
If they had more money, they could do even more. I mean, they spend those dollars well.
That sounded like a great segue. If they only had
more money, and if you wanted to help them out, you could go to phhusa.org and join the Hearts-Vonner Club today.
You are a broadcast professional.
I've heard that.
Your head is not nearly as shiny as it was last week either.
Well, I had to like wipe it down
Joe brings
before
brings the lights back up.
I'm glad the radio listeners can't see my head. It's
yeah. Warning.
I think the listeners want to hear from our guest and not about my head.
I think they do too. Yeah. So you're listening to our buddy Mike Sullivan, Colonel 06 type. It's a shame they didn't give you a star. They should have. So I'll just state that personally. But you're in the process of transitioning out of the Army and heading into the veteran landscape, and your beard proves it.
Oh, yeah, that's a nice beard, too.
It's fantastic. Got some product on that thing. So, Sully, tell us a little bit about, how you got involved and what in the world is Team Red, White, and Blue, how you got involved, and what's going on with that organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So Team Red, White, and Blue is going into its 14th year. It was started by a friend of mine, Mike Irwin. At the time we met, he was the intelligence officer in 1st Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group. I was a company commander. A few years after that is when he came up with this idea of starting a veteran nonprofit. At that time, helping, the vets coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan transition back, into the civilian life. He saw a gap there, and he wanted to fill it. So he came up with this idea of using fitness as a means to bring veterans back together in a social environment and get them, back in that familiar, team-like, unit-like atmosphere with like-minded individuals kind of challenging themselves through physical activity. And it's been growing since the beginning. It was about a year into it. He called me when I was still on active duty and said, hey, I need you to start the Fayetteville and then Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty chapter of Team RWB. So I took that on for him. So I've been involved with the organization for 13 years as a member, as an early kind of Eagle leader. And then it was about a year or two ago, Mike started to ask me, hey, what are you going to do when you retire? And I wasn't quite sure, like most, guys that have spent that long in the Army. And he's like, well, I think you'd be a great fit for the organization. In 2017, the organization still focused on the enrichment of veterans' lives, still focused on that transition piece, but saw that it really their lifeblood was that physical activity that was building on like the health and wellness of our veteran community. So they changed the mission to focus solely on building a community that would be the premier kind of health and wellness veteran space, in the United States. So it's a great organization. It's mostly, volunteer run. We have 190 plus chapters across all 50 states. You have 200 plus Eagles that have signed up, and then just really getting after it primarily through in-person physical training events that are designed to keep people active.
Yeah.
We have our own app that gets people, also informed and involved in what, we're trying to do in terms of building this community of veterans that really care about their own health and welfare and their own health and wellness, and then serving again their battle buddies and trying to improve theirs.
And when you say Eagle, what does that mean?
So it all comes out of the logo that, Mike came up with back in the day. Obviously, red, white, and blue, Team RWB harkens to the flag. But they chose an eagle as the mascot, the symbol of who we are. So for years, people would probably say, oh, Team RWB, that's the largest veteran running club in the world, because you would see people wearing this red T-shirt with the eagle on it at races. And it just became, from 5Ks to marathons to ultras to, just deciding to get off the couch and get after it again.
Yeah, and rucking and rowing and
rucking. Now it's rucking, rowing, cycling.
Yeah,
we multitude of events, but it naturally became the thing that we need to have a term for ourselves, so we'll call each other Eagles. So it's tied to we see ourselves as being a group of folks. You're an Eagle if you're a part of the crew. We live by an Eagle ethos. We're always chasing that Eagle fire.
There he is.
That's awesome.
Chasing the Eagle fire. So Devin, you can become an Eagle.
I can become an Eagle?
It's very simple.
I'd be a bald eagle.
You would be. There's your social media clip for the day.
Yeah.
There it is, right there. That's your YouTube short of the day, right there. That is fantastic.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah. So, Mike, tell me, is there a memorable thing that Team Red, White, and Blue? Is there a story that has come out of that particular veteran or yourself that you've seen some or heard about some really dramatic impact?
Yeah, I think just you'll see it if you go to the events. You just see it immediately in terms of the folks that are there, and it's a mix, right? Everybody from like a retiring special operations guy to someone that spent their initial enlistment in the military, but really loved what the military did for them, and it doesn't matter the branch. Just excited to really enjoy that team atmosphere, being a part of a unit and serving each other. So you see the impact all the time. I mean, recently, Mike Irwin, our executive director and founder, he got a call from a guy who was really active for years, dropped off, had some issues in his personal life, and realized just from like scrolling social media, like, hey man, it seems like Team RWB is doing a lot of stuff still, and they got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. He
reached back out. As I mentioned, we have our own application. It's kind of like the veteran safe space.
Yeah.
Social media is great, but you have a space where it's just veterans helping veterans. You can pick from any of those type of activities we talked earlier, share advice, share photos. You're not going to get pummeled with, celebrities or influencers or, advertisements.
Hey, Mike, we're going to have to put a pin in it right there.
Yeah, sure thing.
There's going to be a lot more from Mike when we get back. You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together.
Putting the Pieces Back Together. We'll be back with more of John Gallina and Brad Borders after these messages from 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
So I've got your new nickname,
What's that?
Eagle Dog Devin.
Eagle Dog. Do you have to choose a new nickname for me every day?
Yes, Eagle Dog Devin.
What were you calling me earlier this week? We were in the hallway and you were just yelling something randomly at me. You're like, this is your new nickname.
Yeah,
and I
it's
was
your
like,
new nickname.
Of course
I can't
it is.
remember. I don't know. Oh, it was Beaver Oil.
Beaver Oil.
Yeah, it was. What? Well, because of his shiny
what?
head.
I am sorry that I brought that up, actually.
His shiny head.
Why?
I don't know.
Because he oils his head to make it more
I
shiny.
do not oil my head, but also, I don't know. I feel like that has some connotations that maybe we don't want to bring up on the radio.
If you bring them up, we're not on the radio. We're just on Facebook. There's your social media
My mother
clip for the day,
listens to
Joe.
the show.
Go ahead, King Richard. Yeah. This is the non-FCC regulated.
It is.
And I didn't make any innuendo at all.
What is beaver oil anyways? What is that
about? It makes your bald head shiny there, Eagle Dog Devin.
There's lots of oils. Eagle Dog.
Eagle Dog Devin. I love it, man. You're going to be the new face of Team Red, White, and Blue.
I liked the bald. I'm a bald eagle.
It's like
that's gold.
Bald Eagle Dog Devin. Bald Eagle Dog Devin.
Oh my gosh.
That's fantastic. That is gold. That is gold. You were here. You heard it first here. Right now.
Well, at least we have fun on the radio.
Yes, at least we do. Mandy Timberlake is making all kinds of comments.
I love her comment.
She is a dedicated listener.
She is a dedicated
every
week. She is so fantastic.
And she puts up with Paul
every day.
So the woman's a saint.
She is. She is a saint. There is no doubt. There is no doubt.
1 minute.
Okay, we're going to go back in 1 minute. So, all right. So, hey, we are up to, oh my gosh, we're up to 10 live viewers on Facebook.
We had 15, and then you mentioned beaver oil, and it was.
They're all family members.
Yeah, they are. They're all us. They're all us. That's fantastic. That's so good.
If you get a comment like, that guy should shave, that is Mom Sullivan.
Okay. We'll be watching for that.
She could be watching live on YouTube or X or LinkedIn or
that's true.
Or WSICnews.com. They could be any of those places.
Yeah, if you are watching, you can you can get it not only live but later on. Right?
Absolutely.
On demand.
On demand.
Devin.
10 seconds.
The Eagle Dog Devin on demand.
I don't know that people want that.
Mic's off. We're about to be back.
You get your
131 West Broad Street in Statesville.
Putting the Pieces Back Together continues now. Here are your hosts, John Gallina and Brad Borders, on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
We're back on Putting the Pieces Back Together. You've been live on WSIC.
Yes,
I'm trying to get myself back, my composure. Brad hit a zinger while the microphones are off, and I don't think it was FCC friendly. So
it wasn't. It was just pushing the envelope a little bit. So So hey, we are joined by almost retired Mike Sullivan. Everybody calls him Sully. Dear human being and a great leader, a great man, and we're really glad he's here. He's with.
Absolutely.
He's now continuing the mission of taking care of folks with Team Red, White, and Blue, and we were talking a little bit about Team Red, White, and Blue being a health and wellness community for veterans. It's all over the country in 50 states, over 100 chapters, 200,000 veterans signed up, to include the newest one, which is Eagle Dog Devin, that is going to be signing up
the Bald
today,
Eagle,
AKA the Bald Eagle, right? And so as a part of that community, there's events that happen, and this month there's one that started today. So tell us a little bit about what that is and how people can get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So this month, we actually partner with another organization that puts on what's called the Taji 100, that harkens back to Iraq days. But the goal here is that you're moving throughout the month of February, and either individually or ideally as a team, you come together and you log at least 100 miles as an individual maybe a couple hundred if you're on on a bike like yourself, Brad. But it's an excellent opportunity again to like build that community and that team environment where you have accountability to some friends. And it was awesome to see the kickoff today, especially in the Eagle app. You were just seeing everybody fired up. Like, I got my first 6 miles in, 94 to go.
Yep.
So you have 29 days this month to do it. For the rest of the year, we have monthly missions. January was great. We harkened back to the Gulf War and recognized those veterans with the Gulf War chocolate chipper. It was a workout of the day that you had a very short amount of time to get it done in, but they accomplished a big win of a war in like 100 hours. So, but we do that each month. We'll have a march to Baghdad, and we'll have the Vietnam battle drill. We do one for Red Wings. So there's each month you have a different monthly mission and a training plan to get you ready for that.
So you could be at any skill level and start this off.
Absolutely. Yeah. The goal is, again, like if you're ultra marathoner and you want to continue to like push yourself, you find that group within the community, whether it's virtually, and then ideally in person, you get together and you do some stuff. If you're just trying to get off the couch and get back after it, because you're like asking yourself, am I ready for what life's going to throw at me this year in 2024? Well, maybe I should check this thing out. And everything's scaled. Again, it's a community of people that are going to support you no matter where you come to the group with your fitness journey. And ideally we get you back going in the right direction, because it's just, that's what it's all about.
We used to do with our F3 group here, we still do every Memorial Day, do the 21 gun salute workout. And I think that was developed by somebody in Team Red, White, and Blue somewhere along the way.
It was. That's a serious one.
That one is no joke, and we've done that. We've done that every year probably for the last 10 years, and it involves some box jumps and some other horrifying things, and but it doesn't have to be that. It can really be anything. It can just be walking, or maybe putting a ruck on your back and putting 10 pounds in it or something.
Yeah,
or you can go nuts and like Joe Baker and put 60 pounds in your ruck and go walk 12 miles if you want to. I don't know why you want to do that.
I don't know why you'd want to do that
either. If you're getting
either,
paid to do it, it's a different thing. But if you're not getting paid, I don't know. But I think it's really cool. What is there like one big like your hallmark event of the year that is like what everybody's trying to build towards as one big community?
Not necessarily. I mean, that's where we try to do one big one a month.
Yeah.
And then what we do, what we've started for like the last few years is we've encouraged everybody to like vocalize a big fitness goal that they're going to go after individually in the year. So like, and it should be something that you might fail at, ideally. So you're really challenged. So like for myself, I've run the JFK 50 miler 5 times. My 5th time was 2 years ago, and I've decided, well, I should challenge myself and actually run 50 miles the day before I run the JFK 50 miler this year in November. So that's my big fitness goal.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we'll see, because there's a lot of folks signing up now for the JFK, I think, just to see if Sully's going to be at the start line at the finish.
So let's back that up. You're going to run 50 miles the day before you run 50 miles, just like as a warm-up.
And for all of those out there who think that your officers aren't hard, this man was a colonel running 50 miles, and I'm just gonna run an extra 50 for.
Yeah, it's crazy hard.
I was told
crazy
early
hard
on in my special forces career by a sergeant major that I would always have an NCO with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
because I didn't always make the right decisions. Without that person checking my decision making.
That's fantastic. That leads me to this point. Tell me about, we have 5 minutes left, and I'm just going to leave this time for you, but tell me about a leader that you looked up to throughout your 30 years of service. I mean, I know there's a lot of them, but is there anybody that sticks out?
Well, I think it is funny, and it's kind of tied to this. It does stick out, and it's a leader that was actually like, my assigned battle buddy. So when I was a company commander as a major in First Charlie Company, 1st Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group, my sergeant major, Ben Inderbitson, which we called Nevada Ben, born and raised in Nevada, he was one, just an amazing individual in terms of like providing me that guidance and mentorship that I needed. Often he was my own personal, I guess, Jiminy Cricket at times, where he'd say, "Hey, sir, your integrity just jumped out of your cargo pocket and ran across the room. You might want to go chase it down." But he was just a phenomenal human being. And what I didn't realize at the time was he was teaching me that, self-assessment and self-awareness is what makes you a great leader. And he constantly challenged me to do that. And I think one of the funnier stories that I can tell is we were in Afghanistan, and I had been told to do something by the battalion, and I decided that for the company, I was going to write this really angry email, probably full of words that I can't say on the radio.
and thank you for that.
He noticed I was typing away, and he's like, "Sir, you're typing angry. What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm writing an email to the battalion commander to tell him what we're going to do and what we're not going to do." And he's like, "That's awesome." He goes, "You have horrible grammar. Let me check that out before you hit send." So I got done typing it. I stand up. Hey, sit down, check this out. This is like a masterpiece email. And he's reading it, and he's like looking up at me, and he's like, "This is good. This is good. All right." He's like, "Let me change this." Yeah. And then he looks at me and he hits delete. What did you just do? Yeah. I go, "That took me like a half hour." He's like, "Do you feel better? Because you would have ruined your career and everybody's lives in this company."
It's good that you wrote that. Just get your anger out.
Absolutely amazing.
It was like you're typing punching bag.
If he saw me typing angry, he's like, "I'm gonna proofread that."
Yeah. Was it in all caps too? It was all caps.
All caps.
Bold and italic.
Yeah. All caps in italic to the battalion commander from the major. Yeah. You probably looking back on that now, you're going, "But that dude saved my life."
He did.
Multiple times. Sure, that is fantastic, man. That is a great story. Well, we are been just really honored to have you on the show. I want everybody to, if you could, go out and find Team Red, White, and Blue. If you're a veteran and maybe you're disconnected and maybe you're kind of looking for. I just got a call from a mental health professional today, and he said, "Hey, I know this veteran that is isolated, and he's 36 years old, and he doesn't know what to do." And I mean, like, if he relents and reaches out to me, my first conversation with him is going to be about Team Red, White, and Blue and get connected with us, here in our community. And so if you're listening, if you're a family member of a veteran that is isolated and struggling and needs that community, please let them know about Team Red, White, and Blue, because it's been a great help to a lot of folks. And got guys like Mike at the helm running this thing, and it's a great organization, man, and we can't thank you enough for doing what you do. And so
yes, thank you, Mike, for that.
So we've got a minute left. I'm gonna leave the last word to you. Anybody you want to say hey to, or any words of wisdom you want to put out there for our listeners?
No, I just really appreciate the opportunity to come on, tell my story. Definitely the opportunity to talk about Team RWB. I say it a lot in my social media posts, but I truly believe my entire life has been successful because I was surrounded with people on a team that was looking after me, gave me a sense of belonging, that sense of accountability, the opportunity to serve them as well as myself. And I just think that's what truly makes people successful in life. So, Brad, you were one of those guys. I thank you for it. And I just go out there, go to teamrwb.org and find your team.
Appreciate you, brother. That's awesome.
Hey, you've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together. We'll catch you next week for a wonderful show.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, brought to you by Purple Heart Homes. Please consider making a donation to this worthwhile cause dedicated to improving the lives of veterans one home at a time by visiting purplehearthomesusa.org. Join us again next Thursday at 3 p.m. for Putting the Pieces Back Together on WSIC News Talk Now.